Hi. Today, I want to talk about fantasy romance, romance fantasy, romantasy, if you will. Primarily because the last few months I have been obsessed. Utterly, sickeningly, disgustingly obsessed. And these are some of the books that I went absolutely feral over. And these are also books that I will struggle to hear criticism about, even if some of them do deserve quite a lot of criticism. So, just a quick disclaimer, as I will probably always disclaim that these are just my opinions. I'm not coming for you. I hope you won't come for me. I hope we can just have a nice time. Also, I'm not going to go into too much depth about each book or go over too much about the books because I don't really want to review them. I kind of just want to tell you about them. Maybe you should grab a snack. Yeah, go grab a snack, get a drink. Let's pretend that we're out to lunch because I'm not gonna shut up for the next few minutes until I've either convinced you to read these books or I've convinced you that I'm insane for liking these books. So let's dive right in. Or actually, go get your snack. Then I'll dive right in. I'm also just going to stop myself for a second to say that all the books on this list are one, part of series, and two, spicy. So if you don't like them spicy, I apologize. I do. I like chili peppers and I like lots of them. So I do apologize, but all the books on this list do have spice. They're, in my opinion, considered new adult, maybe adult-ish. They're definitely not young adult. So I just wanted to stop by with a disclaimer. I feel like you could not go online without seeing something about Fourth Wing. I personally had a grand old time, and this book put me in such a book hangover that I don't think I read another book for like a whole week, which sounds so stupid saying, but as someone who is constantly reading, like this book took me out. This book had me in a chokehold, and by the time I finished it, I was just on the ground sobbing, what is life? It was 50-50, and I will hear criticism about it. However, it was a vibe, and I enjoyed the vibe. The next book on the list is Belladonna by Adeline Grace. I'm also going to throw in the sequel Foxglove by Adeline Grace because I recently read it and I loved both. And what I love about this is that Adeline Grace can pull you in with her writing. I have a bachelor's in English with a minor in creative writing, and something you'll hear a lot in the writing world is that you have to hook your readers with the first sentence. It has to be the perfect first sentence to really bring them in. Adeline Grace doesn't do that. She hooks you with the first few pages, the first paragraph. I've read 2 minutes of this book and I'm in. I'm sold. I want to know what's going to happen, why it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, who it's going to happen to. I want to know the 5 W's of this book. I'm in. And now that I've read Foxglove, what I enjoy even more is how Belladonna sets itself up for Foxglove, and Foxglove is going to set itself up for the last book in the series, Wisteria, which I think is coming out in maybe August of 2024, but don't quote me on that because I don't have an exact date. I do know a lot of people have some gripes with this book in that it kind of feels as if maybe Death groomed Cigna, but I don't think that's the case. Feel free to disagree with me. I don't know if I necessarily love their relationship, but I do love the tension that comes out of their relationship, their budding relationship in Belladonna into their solidified relationship in Foxglove, which is kind of shaken up by Death's brother Fate. And it's not a love triangle. I don't want to talk too much about it, but it's not a love triangle, which is good because I don't like love triangles between brothers and sisters and cousins. If you like me and my sister, pick or move on. And if you can't, then I'll do it. I'll leave. Like, bye. You two have fun. But Belladonna was a ride, Foxglove was a ride, and if you haven't read either of them, I would read them. I've done it. I've fallen in love with a vampire. And he's not a Salvatore or a Cullen. He's a Rain. The next book is The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I am going to be quickly going over this whole series because I loved it. I did not think that I would be 30 years old fawning all over again over a vampire, but here we are. Things have happened. Words were written, books were published, and I found them because I read Fourth Wing. I went into a slump and I needed to get out of it. I needed to stop thinking about Xaden because he is a fictional character. He does not exist. And I am in a very loving and happy green flag relationship. I shouldn't be crying because my book boyfriend is just that. Would I trade Xaden Ryerson for my real life boyfriend? Hell to the no. But I can still feel like a clown for having way too many book boyfriends to juggle. Anyway, The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent is, man, it's brutal. Think Divergent, Hunger Games, maybe a little bit of Twilight, make it bloodier and give that man a giant, you know, and we're off to the races. But if there is one thing that I really like about this series, it's that I really love Araya. She's our main character. She is just so strong and she is like anger incarnate, and I just love her. I love her energy. I love her vibe. I love the relationship between her and Rain. Their series is a duology between the Serpent and the Wings of Night and the Ashes and the Star-Crossed Cane. Crossed Cane? No. Ashes and the Star-Cursed Cane, and I'm a big fan. I'm a stan. I love it. If you haven't read it because let me just put a disclaimer, okay? I'm not a fan of redheads. I'm not a fan of vampires. I'm not a fan of men who whatever. But I am in love. One of my book boyfriends is a red-haired vampire. I said what I said. Nestled in between The Serpent and the Wings of Night and The Ashes and the Star-Cursed Cane is a tiny little baby novella called Six Scorched Roses, and it is probably my favorite book of the series thus far because we meet Lilith and Vale, and if you thought that I loved Rain, I love Vale 10 times more. I would trade Rain for Vale any day. I also love Lilith because, you know, we stan a STEM queen in this house, and I just love their relationship dynamic. They're very wholesome. They're very protective and loyal. I stan the smut. It was so good. If you have not read this series, please read this series. Sometimes I equate Rain and Vale kind of with Rhysand and Cassian from ACOTAR. If you were a Rhysand girly who switched sides to Cassian after a Court of Silver Flames, you might switch from You're also welcome. Hi, editing Cynthia, just stopping by because I realized I forgot to talk about The Ashes and the Star-Cursed Cane by Carissa Broadbent, and I've recorded this video quite a few times for several different reasons, and every time I record it, I always forget to talk about The Ashes and the Star-Cursed Cane, and I don't know why. But I really enjoyed The Ashes and the Star-Cursed Cane primarily because it was the second half of a duology, and I'm finding that I actually really love duology. Though I do wish we get a little more in the first half because, like, I'm already in, you know, like, you can tell me. The second book, we learn a lot more about Vincent's past. We learn a lot more about Araya's past and how her and Vincent's past come to be their present and leading up to their present. And I feel like Rain and Araya really just kind of, I don't want to say settle because it sounds a little bit too maybe mediocre, but they sort of settled down, you know, which I actually really enjoyed. And the next book in the series, the third book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, will focus on a new couple altogether. So it makes a lot of sense that Carissa Broadbent wrapped up Rain and Araya's story the way she did. And like I said, you know, this book just wraps everything up really nicely, and I think that's probably why I enjoyed it so much more than the first book. I get a lot more answers, things make a lot more sense, and maybe things in the first book that just didn't make sense now make sense, which I really, really like. But yeah, Carissa Broadbent just wrapped this duology up really nicely. She put a pretty little bow on top of it, and I'm satisfied. And if you haven't read this series, I definitely recommend it, because like I said, it took me by surprise. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did, but I did. Like, here we are. So I'm gonna get back to editing and let's get to the next book. The next book on the list is one that cracked my cold, dead heart right in half, and that is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. If you read this book, I just want to take a moment of silence for all of us who somehow survived that cliffhanger. Anyway, I absolutely love Roman Kit. Roman Kit is up there in my like top 5 book boyfriends. He is so good. And Divers, and I ate it up. I ate it up. I love Iris. I love Roman. I love them together. I love this story. The world building, chef's kiss, perfection. This book, I will say, and this might be the only book on this list that is actually closer to YA when it comes to the smut. There is a scene in the book that is kind of smuttier, but I would consider it to be more of a closed door romance because we're painted a picture, but we're left certain details out that we kind of fill in the blank with, is the best way that I can describe it. But this book is so wholesome, and I need the second book like yesterday because I am dying. I think about this book every single day. To put it into perspective, I read Divine Rivals back, I think, in June of 2023, and the book doesn't come out until December of 2023, and as of right now filming this video, it is early October 2023, and I am still not okay. I need the next book. I need it now, and when it comes out, if it comes out during a weekday, I might just call out of work because I need it. I need it more than I need Iron Flame, and that's saying something because I really love Divine Rivals. And while I will hear criticism of Fourth Wing, I don't know if I can handle criticism of Divine Rivals. So yeah. The next book or books on this list is the ACOTAR series by Sarah J. Maas, and I'm just gonna kind of like power hour through each book because I really like the notes that I wrote for this series. So we have A Court of Thorns and Roses. This is the one where nothing, absolutely nothing, makes sense. The first half is dumb and the second half is pure chaos. I really had to push myself not to DNF this one. Then we have A Court of Mist and Fury. You had to suffer through A Court of Thorns and Roses to be rewarded with A Court of Mist and Fury. You could also think of it as A Court of Thorns and Roses walked so that A Court of Mist and Fury could fucking sprint. Then we have A Court of Wings and Ruin, another banger. I loved the political aspects. I love learning more about the other court. Also, can we just be careful how you speak about my high lady? And in my humblest opinions, this is kind of where the series starts to go downhill, but I'm not going to get into that. So next we have A Court of Frost and Starlight, which I literally wrote, unnecessary, repetitive, waste of 3 hours of my life. However, if you're invested in the characters, you should read it. And then we have A Court of Silver Flames, which I'm very conflicted about because I do not like Nesta. I'm not a Nesta girly. I never was. I don't think I ever will be. This book did not necessarily paint her in a better light, but it did, however, book. I went into it hoping that I would like it, and I just didn't. Like, I don't know what Sarah J. Maas was going through when she wrote A Court of Silver Flames, but I didn't like it. I would accept a rewritten version, but also now that we know that there's more books coming out in the ACOTAR series, I need my man Asriel to like find a mate because I just want to hug him. He's just sad boy vibes, and I don't want him to be sad boy vibes. The next book on this list is also a 3-book series. The first 2 are currently out. The second book I think comes out mid-November. Yes, November 17th. And that is A Court This Cruel and Lovely by Stasia Stark. Let me tell you, Lorien, right off the bat, is... I hate this comparison, but when I first like got halfway through the book, I imagine Lorien as a mixture of Tamlin and Rhysand. Like, he's such an alpha male, but he's also kind of a dick sometimes. Like, he's sometimes a little bit of a brute. And I just like, I hate that comparison, but it's the truth. It's not accurate, but it's my truth. I also really like our main character, Prisha. She's a little chaotic, but I really like her. And I think there's a lot of comparison between Prisha and A Court That's Cruel and Lovely and Araya in the Serpent and the Wings of Night duology, in that they're both super strong female characters with pasts that kind of unravel as the series go on, but it's very, very interesting. And the next book is A Kingdom This Cursed and Empty by Stasia Stark, which is the second book after A Court This Cruel and Lovely. This book I didn't really like. The cliffhanger, unnecessary. The multiple POVs, unnecessary. What was the point of the Queen's point of view? Someone explain it to me, because I'm clearly missing something. I will say, the smut is pretty consistent throughout both books. That was enjoyable, if not a little bit repetitive at times. But I really liked the world building. It wasn't too confusing, and the plot was very interesting. And if you haven't read these books, I would go read these books. They're both on Kindle Unlimited. If you're coming off those ACOTAR withdrawals, I definitely recommend A Court This Cruel and Lovely series. While it will not fill the gaping hole in your heart, it'll patch it up a little. And the next book is One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig. This book ended up being, it's probably one of my favorite books that I read this year. It's up there on the list. This book took me by, I was so surprised. I think I read it, I think I read it Friday night and finished it by Saturday night. I devoured this book. I didn't even read it, I devoured it. And do you like riddles? Because this book has so many riddles. Every chapter starts with a riddle, and I know I'm making it sound a little weird, but it's Steven, who I mentioned earlier. He's definitely up there in the book boyfriends list, and this book was just so fun. She has like this I don't want to spoil it, but she has this, like, we'll call him this demon in her head who also saves her. And I originally thought that was going to be the love interest, and then I had to like slap myself because what's wrong with me? But yeah, this was such a fun read. One Dark Window. Two Twisted Crowns, I believe, is the second book. Let me double check. Yes, so in the Shepherd King series, One Dark Window is the first, and then Two Twisted Crowns is the second, and Two Twisted Crowns releases October 19th. And I'm filming this early October, so we still have a little bit of time, but I'm sure I'm gonna love that one. That book will complete the series, I believe. I believe Rachel Gillig said that One Dark Window is a duology, not a 3 or 4 or 5 book series. Like Fourth Wayne, for example, is a 5-book series, and I'm really fascinated to see where it's gonna go, because a lot happened in the first book, and we still have 4 more books to go, so we'll see. But anyways, yeah, this was just a fun, for me, hopefully it was for you, a fun, chaotic recap of some fantasy romance books I recently read that I really just genuinely enjoyed, and I think that you should read them too. There are some, like I said, I will not hear any criticism of, primarily Divine Rivals. There are others like Fourth Wayne that I will definitely hear criticism about, because I have my own criticisms. But I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun. And if you read any of the books on this list, please definitely comment down below, because I would love to hear your thoughts. Like I said, I'm open to some criticism. Don't be afraid to hurt my feelings, because I'm pretty sure I have some book opinions that will hurt other people's feelings, which is not my intention, but it happens. So yeah, let me know if you read any of these books. Let me know if you liked them, if you didn't like them. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I also want to do a follow-up to this video a little bit later in the year, so if you have any more fantasy romance recommendations that you think should be added to this list, definitely also let me know your recommendations, and if I haven't read them, I will read them. And this will be a two-parter. It'll be a two-parter. We'll just bang it out. But yeah, other than that, I will see you in the next one. Bye!